My child, I need to tell you something that is going to make your stomach drop. Right now, at this very second, you are 3 days away from making the biggest mistake of your life. You don't know it yet because the decision hasn't fully formed in your conscious mind, but I can see it taking shape in the shadows of your thoughts. I can see you building the justification. I can see you rehearsing the conversation. I can see you convincing yourself that just one more time will not hurt. That checking in isn't the same as going back. That reaching out is just being mature and offering closure. But we both know that is a lie, don't we? You opened this message because something in your spirit recognized the emergency. Something in you knew that if you don't hear what I am about to say right now, in the next 72 hours you are going to text them. You are going to drive past their house. You are going to show up at that place you know they will be. You are going to pick up that bottle, open that app, fall back into that pattern you swore you were done with. And the second you do, everything I have been rebuilding in you for the past weeks, months, maybe even years is going to crack. Not break completely, not at first, just crack. And that is how it always starts. I want you to feel what is happening in your body right now as you read these words. That tightness in your chest, that flutter of panic mixed with recognition, that sick feeling in your stomach because you absolutely know, that I am talking directly to the secret thing you have been hiding from everyone. The thing you have been too ashamed to say out loud, the thing you thought you could manage on your own without anyone finding out. But you didn't make a mistake. You made the bravest decision of your life, and the enemy knows that. So he is working overtime right now to convince you to undo it. Let me show you his strategy, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. He does not come at you with obvious attacks. He does not show up and say, go back to the person who abused you, go back to the addiction that was killing you, go back to the version of yourself who was dying inside. He is smarter than that. He shows up whispering things that sound reasonable, things that sound mature, things that sound like healing. He whispers, maybe enough time has passed that they have changed. He whispers, maybe you were too harsh, maybe you overreacted, maybe you didn't give them enough chances. He whispers, what if you are making a mistake? What if they were the one and you are throwing away your only chance at love? What if no one ever understands you the way they did? And the most dangerous whisper of all, what if you end up alone forever? Because you were too picky, too damaged, too unwilling to forgive. Those thoughts feel like they are coming from you. They feel like your own doubts, your own fears, your own second guessing. But they are not. They are arrows that have been dipped in just enough truth to slip past your defenses. And once they are in, they start to poison everything I have been healing. So let me cut through every single one of those lies right now with surgical precision. You are not too picky, you are finally developing standards. You are not too damaged. You are finally aware enough to recognize damage when you see it. You are not unwilling to forgive. You have forgiven. But forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Forgiveness does not mean giving someone access to hurt you again. Forgiveness does not mean pretending it never happened and trying one more time with a person who has shown you exactly who they are. And that fear, that deep terror that you are going to end up alone forever, let me dismantle that right now. You were lonelier in that relationship than you have ever been by yourself. You were lying next to someone at night and felt like you were on a different planet. You were in the same room and felt invisible. You were pouring everything into them and felt emptier the more you gave. That is not connection. That is isolation with a witness. So when your brain tries to scare you with the threat of being alone, remind it that you have already survived the worst kind of loneliness. The kind where you are desperate for someone who is right in front of you but completely unavailable. And if you can survive that, you can absolutely thrive in solitude while you wait for something real. Now, I am going to tell you something that is going to sound harsh, but I need you to hear it because your life depends on it. If you go back, if you reach out, if you open that door even a crack, you are not going to get the closure you think you want. You are not going to get the apology you deserve. You are not going to get them to suddenly realize what they lost and fight to get you back. What you are going to get is just enough attention to rehook you, just enough sweetness to make you question whether you were wrong about how bad it was, just enough effort to pull you back in. And then once you are back, once they know they have you again, the cycle will repeat. Because people do not change just because you leave. They change because they want to. And if they wanted to, they would have done the work while you were there begging them to. Your absence is not a catalyst for their transformation. Your absence is just space for them to find someone new to repeat the same pattern with. And I know that hurts. I know you want to believe you were special enough to be the exception. But love, real love, it does not require you to leave for someone to see your value. Stop giving your heart to people who treat it like a rental property. But I already know. I have been watching you scroll through old photos at 2 in the morning when you cannot sleep. I have seen you type out messages you delete before sending. I have watched you drive past places. You know you might run into them, telling yourself it is just a coincidence. I have felt your heart race when their name pops up somewhere unexpected. And I have heard you whisper prayers that contradict themselves, asking me to help you move on while secretly hoping I will give you a sign that going back is okay. You are exhausted, aren't you? Exhausted from pretending you are fine. Exhausted from the war happening inside your head between what you know is right and what you desperately want. Exhausted from people congratulating you on how far you have come when you feel like you are one weak moment away from throwing it all away. Let me tell you what no one else will say to you. What you are feeling is not abnormal. It is not a sign that you are failing. It is not proof that you are damaged beyond repair. What you are feeling is the completely predictable result of trying to rewire a brain that spent months, maybe years, being conditioned to need something that was slowly destroying you. You know what the cruelest part of trauma bonding is? It is not that it happens. It is that even after you escape, your body still remembers the high. Your nervous system still craves the cycle. Your heart still reaches for the person who taught it that love and pain come in the same package. And now here you are, free but not feeling free, safe but not feeling safe, away but not feeling away. Because distance is not the same as detachment, is it? You can be 1,000 miles from that relationship and still feel like you are standing right in the middle of it. You can block their number and still hear their voice in your head. You can delete every photo and still see their face when you close your eyes. Physical separation does not automatically equal emotional liberation. And that is what you are discovering right now, in the loneliest way possible. Everyone around you thinks you have moved on. They see you smiling. They see you functioning. They see you going to work, seeing friends, doing all the normal things. What they don't see is that you are performing. What they don't see is that there is a part of you that is still back there, still in that relationship, still in that addiction, still trapped in that version of yourself you thought you left behind. And the worst part, you feel guilty for not being over it yet. You feel like there is something wrong with you because it has been weeks, months, maybe even a year, and you still think about them every single day. You still miss the ritual of that habit. You still catch yourself falling into old patterns of thinking, old ways of being, old versions of yourself you swore you buried. But can I tell you why you keep going back in your mind? It is not because what you left was so wonderful. It is because your brain is trying to make sense of the investment. You gave so much. You sacrificed so much. You believed so hard, and walking away permanently means admitting that all of it, every tear, every compromise, every piece of yourself you gave up led to nothing. That feels unbearable. So your mind does what minds do. It starts rewriting history. It starts filtering out the bad and amplifying the good. It starts convincing you that maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe you were too sensitive. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe if you just tried one more time with a different approach, it could work. And here is where I need you to really hear me. That voice in your head telling you to go back. It sounds like you, but it is not you. It is the part of you that is still infected with their narrative. It is the part of you that learned to minimize your pain to keep the peace. It is the part of you that got so good at making excuses for them that now it makes excuses for why you should return. You are not crazy for feeling this way. You are experiencing withdrawal. Except no one talks about withdrawal from people. No one talks about withdrawal from toxic patterns. No one talks about how your body can literally go through the same symptoms as coming off a drug when you remove yourself from a situation that was flooding you with cortisol and adrenaline, and the occasional dopamine hit that kept you hooked. The shaking hands when you resist the urge to reach out. The inability to sleep because your mind will not stop racing. The loss of appetite or the inability to stop eating because you are trying to fill a void. The physical ache in your chest that feels like grief but also feels like panic. That is not weakness. That is your nervous system recalibrating. That is your body learning to function without the chaos it became dependent on. But nobody tells you this. So you think you are broken. You think something is wrong with you. You think that if it was really that bad, you wouldn't miss it this much. And that thought, that one thought right there, is the hook the enemy uses to pull you back in. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Not the answer you think you should give, but the real answer. What are you actually afraid will happen if you never go back? What is the fear underneath the fear? Is it that you will be alone forever? Is it that no one will ever understand you the way they did? Is it that you will never feel that intensity again? Is it that all the pain will have been for nothing if you don't at least try to salvage something from it? Is it that walking away completely means admitting you were wrong about them? Wrong about the relationship? Wrong about your own judgment? Because I need you to know, those fears, they are valid. They are real, and they are also lies disguised as logic. You are afraid of being alone, but you were lonelier in that relationship than you have ever been by yourself. You were surrounded by someone and still felt invisible. You were lying next to them at night and felt like you were on a different planet. You were pouring everything into them and felt emptier the more you gave. That is not connection. That is isolation wearing a mask. You are afraid no one will understand you like they did. But understanding you and using that understanding to manipulate you are not the same thing. They knew exactly which buttons to push because they installed the buttons. They knew exactly how to get you back because they studied your weaknesses like a manual. That is not intimacy. That is strategy. You are afraid you will never feel that intensity again, but you are confusing intensity with love. A car crash is intense. A house fire is intense. A panic attack is intense. Intensity is not proof of value. Sometimes intensity is just proof that something is out of control, and you don't miss the relationship. You miss the adrenaline. You miss the drama. You miss the cycle of breaking and making up because at least it made you feel something in a life that has felt numb for so long. And here is the thing about going back. You already know how it ends. You have the data. You have the evidence. You have lived through it, but you are hoping that this time will be different. You are hoping that enough time has passed that they have changed. You are hoping that your absence made them realize what they lost. You are hoping that the pain of separation will be the wake-up call that finally makes them become who you always believed they could be. But my child, people don't change because you leave. They change because they want to. And if they wanted to, they would have done it while you were there begging them to. Your absence is not a catalyst for their transformation. It is just space for them to find someone new to repeat the pattern with. I know that hurts to hear. I know you want to believe you were special enough to be the exception. But love, real love, does not require you to leave for someone to see your value. Real love does not need the threat of loss to inspire basic decency. And you staying, you going back, you trying one more time, it is not going to teach them anything except that your boundaries are negotiable. It is going to teach them that if they wait long enough, if they say the right things, if they show up at the right moment, you will fold. And once they know that, they will use it every single time. I see you nodding your head right now. I see you recognizing the truth in these words. But I also see the part of you that is already thinking of reasons why your situation is different, why they are different, why this time could be different. And that is the addiction talking, because that is what this is. It is not love you are craving. It is the familiar. It is the known. It is the devil you know versus the angel you have never met. And your brain, wired for survival, will always pick the familiar over the unknown, even when the familiar is killing you. So let me reframe this for you. You are not missing them. You are missing the version of yourself who still had hope. The version who still believed that if you just loved hard enough, tried hard enough, gave enough, it would be enough. And that version of you, she was beautiful. She was earnest. She was full of faith. But she was also bleeding out trying to fill someone else's cup while her own was bone dry. I didn't take that version of you away to punish you. I took her away to save you because she was not going to survive another round. She was not going to make it through another cycle. She was one more disappointment away from deciding she was the problem, that she was too much or not enough, that love was something other people got to have, but not her. And I refused to let you believe that lie, so I intervened. I created the circumstances that forced the separation. I closed doors you kept trying to pry open. I moved people out of your life who were anchoring you to your past. And yes, it hurt. Yes, it felt cruel. Yes, there were moments you were angry at me for not fixing it the way you wanted. But I was not fixing it. I was removing you from it. Because some things are not meant to be fixed. Some things are meant to be left behind. Now let me tell you what is really happening right now. You are standing at a crossroads, and you think the choice is between going back or staying away. But that is not the real choice. The real choice is between trusting your feelings or trusting my plan. Between believing what your trauma tells you or believing what my word says about you. Your feelings are going to tell you that you cannot do this, that it is too hard, that you are not strong enough, that the loneliness is unbearable, that going back is the only way to make the pain stop. But my word says you are more than a conqueror. My word says I have plans to prosper you and not to harm you. My word says that what I have for you is immeasurably more than anything you can ask or imagine. My word says that whom the Son sets free is free indeed, and you have to decide right now, in this moment, which voice you are going to believe. If you are feeling this right now, if something in your spirit is shifting as you read these words, I need you to do something. Don't just passively consume this and move on. Make a decision. Hit the like button as an act of agreement with what I am speaking over your life. Let that be your yes. Let that be you choosing, right now, to trust me over your trauma, and drop a comment. You don't have to write your whole story. Just write the word enough. Let that be your line in the sand. Let that be you saying, I have given enough, hurt enough, tried enough. I am enough, and I am done going back to places that require me to be less than who I am becoming. Because here is what you need to understand. Every time you go back, you are not just returning to a person or a habit or a pattern. You are returning to a version of yourself that I already resurrected you from. And I did not bring you back to life so you could keep visiting your own grave. That old version of you, the one who tolerated disrespect because at least it was attention, the one who accepted crumbs because at least it was something, the one who made herself small because it made others comfortable. She is dead. I killed her, not to be cruel, but to give you space to become who you actually are. And who you actually are is not someone who begs to be chosen. Who you actually are is not someone who performs for scraps of affection. Who you actually are is not someone who has to earn the right to be treated with basic human decency. Who you actually are is my child, chosen, loved, valued, worthy, not because of what you do, but because of whose you are. But you cannot step into that identity while you are still trying to resurrect the old one. You cannot become who I am calling you to be while you are still mourning who you used to be. And you cannot receive what I have for you while your hands are still full of what I already told you to release. So let me make this very clear. I am not asking you to stop missing them. I am not asking you to stop thinking about them. I am not even asking you to stop loving them. What I am asking you to do is stop going back to them. Stop reaching out, stop checking up, stop creating reasons to be in their orbit. Because every time you do, you reset the clock on your healing. Every time you do, you reinforce the neural pathways that keep you addicted to the chaos. Every time you do, you tell your nervous system that the threat is still present, which means it has to stay in survival mode, which means you never get to rest, which means you never get to heal. And I need you to heal, not just for you, but for the people you are going to help once you get to the other side of this. Not just for you, but for the destiny I have been holding in escrow, waiting for you to be ready. Not just for you, but for the love I have been preparing to send your way that you will miss if you are still entangled with what I already removed. But healing requires something from you. It requires you to sit with the discomfort instead of numbing it. It requires you to feel the grief instead of bypassing it. It requires you to face the reality of what was instead of clinging to the fantasy of what you hoped it would become. And I know that feels impossible. I know it feels like too much to ask, but I am going to be with you through every second of it. I am going to hold you when the missing them feels like it is going to split you in half. I am going to steady you when the urge to reach out feels like a physical need. I am going to remind you who you are when the loneliness tries to convince you that anything is better than nothing. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone in this. Even in the moments it felt like I was silent. I was working behind the scenes, moving pieces, shifting circumstances, preparing the way for your exit. And now that you are out, I am not going to let you wander back in just because the wilderness feels uncomfortable. The wilderness is supposed to be uncomfortable. It is not your destination. It is your training ground. It is where I strip away everything you have been using as a substitute for me. It is where I teach you to hear my voice above all the other noise. It is where I rebuild you from the foundation up so that when I finally lead you into the promised land, you are ready for it. But you have to stop trying to rush the process. You have to stop looking for shortcuts. You have to stop trying to skip ahead to the part where you feel better without doing the work of getting better. And going back is a shortcut. It is a temporary relief that leads to long-term bondage. It is a momentary comfort that costs you your future. It is you choosing the familiar poison over the unfamiliar medicine. Don't do it. Don't go back. Not even for closure. Not even to prove you are over it. Not even to show them who you have become. Because you don't need their validation. You don't need their approval. You don't need them to see your growth for it to be real. Your growth is happening whether they witness it or not. Your healing is happening whether they acknowledge it or not. Your future is unfolding whether they are in it or not. And the moment you realize that, the moment you truly internalize that their presence or absence has no bearing on your worth, that is the moment you are actually free. So let me give you a very practical instruction. I want you to make a list, not in your head, on paper. Write down every single thing you are romanticizing about what you left, every good memory, every moment of kindness, every time they made you feel loved. Write it all down, and then, next to each item, I want you to write the cost. What did that moment of kindness cost you? What boundary did you have to cross to get that moment of feeling loved? What did you have to ignore, overlook, or forgive to experience that good memory? Because nostalgia is a liar. It shows you the highlight reel and hides the behind-the-scenes footage, and you have been watching the highlight reel on repeat, convincing yourself that is the whole story. But it is not. The whole story includes the nights you cried yourself to sleep, the mornings you woke up with anxiety in your chest, the hours you spent overanalyzing their words, trying to figure out what you did wrong, the days you walked on eggshells trying not to trigger their mood, the weeks you gave them the benefit of the doubt while they gave you the bare minimum. That is the whole story. And when you look at the whole story, not just the edited version your trauma-bonded brain keeps showing you, the decision becomes a lot clearer. You deserve more than moments of good in between stretches of bad. You deserve more than someone who loves you when it is convenient. You deserve more than a relationship that only works when you make yourself smaller. And I have that more waiting for you, but you have to let go of the less to receive it before I continue. I need to pause here. If this message is landing in your spirit, if you feel like I am speaking directly to the exact thing you have been wrestling with in secret, would you share this? Would you send it to that one person who comes to mind? The one who you know is struggling with the same battle? Because your obedience to share could be the thing that saves someone else from making the mistake of going back. And if you are able, if you have been blessed by these messages, there is a way to support this ministry in the pinned comment below. Not as an obligation, but as a seed. Because when you sow into the thing that is feeding you spiritually, you are not just helping this message reach more people. You are also making a declaration that you are done being a consumer, and you are ready to be a contributor to the kingdom work happening here. Now let me speak to the specific thing you are avoiding. You know what it is, the thing you have not said out loud to anyone, the thing you are most ashamed of wanting. Maybe it is that you want them to come back and apologize. You want them to finally see what they put you through and feel remorse. You want them to admit they were wrong, that they hurt you, that they took you for granted. And you think if they would just do that, you could forgive them and move forward together. But my child, people who are capable of that level of self-awareness do not usually create the kind of damage that requires this level of healing. And waiting for them to validate your pain is giving them power over your peace. Or maybe what you really want is permission. Permission to go back without judgment. Permission to try again without people thinking you are weak. Permission to believe that this time will be different, even though nothing has actually changed. But you are looking for permission from the wrong source. You are looking for permission from people who don't have to live with the consequences of your choice. I am the only one whose permission matters, and I am telling you, do not go back. Not because I am trying to control you, but because I can see what you cannot. I can see the trap being set. I can see the cycle preparing to repeat. I can see the version of you that will emerge from another round, and she is not stronger, she is more broken. She is more convinced that this is all she deserves. She is more likely to settle permanently for something that was only ever meant to be temporary. I love you too much to give you permission to destroy yourself, so I am going to keep putting obstacles in your path. I am going to keep creating divine interference. I am going to keep blocking the doors you keep trying to open. Not to frustrate you, but to protect you from yourself. Because right now you are not thinking clearly right now. You are operating from a place of lack instead of abundance. Right now you are making decisions based on fear instead of faith. And decisions made from that place never lead anywhere good. So instead of asking me for permission to go back, ask me for strength to stay away. Ask me for clarity to see the situation as it actually is. Ask me for healing in the places that are still bleeding. Ask me for the courage to believe that you deserve better, even when everything in you is screaming that you should settle. And then wait for me to move. Wait for me to provide. Wait for me to show you that what I have for you is worth every single day of this waiting. I know waiting is hard. I know it feels passive. I know it feels like you are just supposed to sit here in discomfort while everyone else gets their happy ending. But waiting is not passive. Waiting is active trust. Waiting is you saying, I believe you are working even when I cannot see it. Waiting is you honoring the process even when you do not understand the purpose. And what you are waiting for is not another person to complete you. What you are waiting for is the fullness of who you are becoming. What you are waiting for is the healed version of yourself who does not need to go back because she has finally discovered what forward feels like. That version of you is coming. She is closer than you think. But you have to stop interrupting her arrival by revisiting your past. Let me close with this. In the pinned comment below, I want you to write the word released, not as a declaration that you do not care anymore, but as a declaration that you are releasing the outcome to me. You are releasing the need to understand. You are releasing the fantasy of what could have been. You are releasing them back to their own journey, and you are releasing yourself from the prison of what was so you can step into the freedom of what is coming. This is your moment. This is your decision point. This is where you choose whether you are going to keep looking back or finally commit to moving forward. Choose forward, choose freedom, choose yourself, and trust that I have already chosen you. Amen.